Now we have to address the elephant trunk in the room, right? How big is your bonus? Now, how do you get a bigger bonus? Because many people are talking about getting big bonuses. They want to have a high six-figure salary. They want to be a high-value man. What is actually going on? How do you actually get those big bonuses? And I'm going to give you some secrets that work for me, working at many major investment banks. If you're new to the channel, I've worked for over 10 years at Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and HSBC, many other top investment banks where I've successfully interviewed, hedge funds, private equity. So I know how it works and how to really make the most of the best of your scenario. So how are bonuses calculated? First thing you want to do is understand what's going on at your company broadly. Now, so what's going on in your company? Are they announcing big profits? Is the company overall making profits or losses? Are there general job cuts in your department or your team? How's the company's profits versus your performance? Because many people, they get upset when they're so focused on their performance, but they don't realize they worked hard one year and the profit of the company is low that year, so you're getting a small bonus. But there might be other years where you do average work, you do your standard dead end 9 to 5 approach, you do the bare minimum just to keep your job, and then you get a massive bonus. It's happened to colleagues I've known who said they were shocked at how big some of their bonuses were in certain years and how small it was other years, right? Because it had nothing to do with their performance. They did the same job or I put in less effort, right? And this is why you need to understand, you want to ignore the small talk. Let's talk about this example of Morgan Stanley CEO Ted Pick, right? Ted Pick said, Morgan Stanley is all about the positive mojo, combined with consistency, rigor, durability. The tone is one of determination. Now, all these corporate dweebs, these corporate simps, these corporate psychos who are in senior management, they'll give you all this nonsense in department meetings, town halls, and you got to think, what's going on in the numbers? What's actually going on here? I don't care about positive mojo. I care about positive P&L for myself. I care about money for myself, right? I don't care about positive mojo. I care about positive money in my bank account. So this is the thing, right? You got to see through all that nonsense. And if this guy is giving you a bunch of mumbo jumbo in a town hall, go and check the latest annual report, the latest information you might have shared internally about the profit they're making. And if it's up 20% and your salary or your bonus is up 1% or it's flat, then you should ask questions like, I've contributed to this in your manager in a nice way. Well, what's going on here? Don't worry about all these pointless language that they use. And you've got to read in between the lines. Now, Dennis Coleman is the Goldman Sachs Chief Financial Officer. He says Goldman Sachs will pay for performance and drive scale across the platform. And when they say drive scale across the platform, this means increasing revenue without increasing the costs or employee pay, right? Scale. So we're going to have a bigger business across our platform, right? It's not saying we're going to drive scale necessarily in terms of hiring more employees. And reading between the lines, there's a bit more context to this that's not here, but it's just the whole idea of reading between the lines. What are they actually saying? All the corporate wordings, what does it actually mean? In this case, it means increasing revenue without increasing cost or employee pay, and they want to achieve more output with less resources, right? Dennis Coleman continues, this guy here, he's saying, at Goldman Sachs as the chief financial officer, Goldman Sachs will look into a mix of activities. Compensation reflects the team's performance. We'll always be mindful of talent retention and consider the level of client services and results for shareholders, teams. And teams can decide the bonus allocation. What he's trying to say is that we're going to focus on performance. We're going to pay bigger bonuses for top performers, which in many cases could be the manager's favorites, not necessarily the people who are doing the hardest work. And then they're going to focus on client feedback, and team management playing office politics is important to determine how much money you can make in the bonus pool, right? And client feedback's important, of course, receiving positive feedback from a client in your interaction with them. That's another way of making a lot of money, right? In terms of making sure everyone perceives you as a top performer. You're a favorite of management. Your team management or your manager is very positively perceived by other senior management, so they get a bigger share of the bonus and they can distribute more money to you. And you're in the good books of major clients or major internal or external stakeholders. That will, of course, feed into your bonus too. So this is the point. Just read in between the lines. What is he actually saying versus all the corporate meaningless small talk? The other thing I want to bear in mind is reading between the lines. What are your co-workers doing, right? If your co-workers are job hopping or your team has a high turnover, it probably means something. I remember working for one investment bank I won't name, and I was working there for about 4 years or more. And every year for the first 4 years, there was a different manager, right? One manager was constantly out of work due to health issues, but I didn't think the health issues were genuine, because when they would come back to work, they just seemed like they just didn't like the manager above them, so they just were looking to leave and they were just pretending to be sick. That's how it came across to me. So that manager was constantly off sick, and basically I think she left due to a layoff. They pushed her out the company essentially because it was a bit suspicious. She left kind of randomly after 6 weeks, after being there after having a disagreement with senior management. So one manager left after 1 year due to always taking sick off work. Another manager I had was also taking sick off work a lot because they didn't like the management above. So 2 instances of that. And then the third manager was someone else who had joined from another department to my department, and in that case what she did is she worked for a year. She again just didn't like the type of work and she moved back to her previous role, and then my fourth manager, she had came from another country to work here, and by that time I was looking to leave anyway because I'd kind of had enough of the lack of consistency, the lack of real skill development. I was just basically doing everything myself and doing my manager's job, and I just had enough at that point. So the thing is, if your co-workers are always moving jobs, and I noticed other people at my level at that time were job hopping a bit, they weren't sticking around for too long, it's probably because they knew they weren't going to get promoted, right? And not because they had bad performance. They just realized, well, I could stick around here and wait 5 years to get a promotion, or I could just job hop to another job. So what are your co-workers doing? Are they sticking in the job? Then are they happy generally, particularly on bonus day? Typically means they're making a lot of money. If they seem a bit disappointed all the time, particularly around just after bonus day, they might be job hopping. They might realize there's no real progress for them here. Are they generally happy or sad? Are they sucking up to management? Are they complaining about a lack of promotion or pay? Are they in the inner circle and positively perceived by management, or are they in the outer circle and less popular at work? What are the social dynamics at your team, right? So you got to be aware of these things. And the purpose of being aware of these things is that you can really sense and read in between the lines. Well, what are people really eager to work here until it's time to get promoted to vice president? Because typically that could mean, oh, well, look, they could stick around for several years, or they just leave before it's time to work hard to become a vice president at a particular bank or company, because they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to waste my time burning years of my career when I can just job hop and get a pay rise. Versus more junior employees might be willing to work hard to move up a level or two. Even some cases, senior employees might be happy to work from executive director to managing director. So where is the major drop-off? Where are employees really dropping out of the company? And it's probably where there is an issue with getting promoted. Either you're above that and you're fine and your job's secure, or you're really junior and your job's secure because you're just happy to be there. But in the middle, that's when you do see a lot of the moving sometimes, because there's a lack of getting promoted or paid well compared to other banks. So pay attention to what's going on around you. Now, an example could be here if you've got a co-worker, right? If they're a trading analyst and they seem that they're angry, receiving a disappointed bonus, they think junior staff are being underpaid while senior executives are getting a lot of money. If there's a general negative vibe after bonuses announced, less travel, less fun, people saying that they're not making enough money, and then they're looking to job hop. So if people are, say, leaving at a certain time in their career at that particular company, probably gives you a sign as to what's going on generally with people's bonuses and the company's culture. Now you've got to pay attention to what is your industry doing, right? I covered in another recent video around how JP Morgan was giving big pay, multi-million dollars salaries to some employees, cutting business heads. Citigroup was giving low pay to middle and back office employees, and then paying some of their senior management extremely high, even for finance jobs. And then you got other companies like Morgan Stanley who are doing job cuts of middle management. So you've got to pay attention to what's going on in your industry. Where are you best placed? And maybe the company you're working at is not the right fit for you, and it's best for you to move. Observe industry changes, position yourself correctly, and follow the power moves. What are the growth areas? Where are people moving away from, and what are they moving towards? For example, I'll give an example of Goldman Sachs, right? There's a recent news article where a vice president from JP Morgan moved from JP Morgan to Goldman Sachs, and he managed to negotiate quite high pay. It was very high for a vice president within macro trading, and he managed to get a pay salary of around $2 million. Now, this is kind of interesting because it's higher than other vice presidents at that level, but he proved himself at one company, JP Morgan, and he did the job hop at the right time to Goldman Sachs. And this is what I mean, figuring out what are the big growing areas, or when's the best time for you to jump. Another example here would be of credit traders, right? And that's the one I went through actually, right? The guy who moved from Goldman's to JP Morgan, getting a $2 million salary a year. And it's interesting because what are the growing areas? Another area here will be credit trading. Recent news suggests that credit trading, trading corporate bonds and other credit products, credit default swaps, things like that. Wells Fargo is recruiting a lot of senior management to run their credit trading business. It's a growing area with Citadel, another major finance, and Jane Street are also hiring a lot in this area. So credit trading is growing right now. Certain times when the economy is not doing so bad, commodity trading is growing because people are investing in gold. Other times credit trading is big because people are more focused on credit products, maybe taking out more debt. There's more debt capital markets activity, more issued, things like that. So it really does depend what the current trend in your industry is. And in this case, it's a growth in credit trading. So you've got to understand, if we just recap briefly, how bonuses are calculated, really, not the corporate mumbo jumbo. What are your co-workers doing? Are they job hopping? What your industry is doing, and what's in this case it's credit trading, and how does bonus day actually work, right? It's good to just learn that yourself. You might have a bit of info that is shared on your company internet site, or it could be a co-worker who just clues you in. I'll just give you a brief overview how it typically works in finance. You need to figure out which day is when is the structure, how do others react. So for example, what day is it? Typically it's in January or Q1, January, February or March, when the company's bonuses and pronouncements are made, January, February, March or April. How's the day typically structured? Typically you will be sitting at your desk, you'll be called into a meeting in a special conference room, one at a time. Everyone will go there one at a time with their manager, they'll be found out how much money they're making, and then they can go back to work. Everyone pretends to be working that day, but no one's doing everything. Everyone's so anxious thinking about how much money they're going to be making. What will the bonus be? What will a pay rise be? Will they get informed of that? Or sometimes they might be informed that their pay isn't going up, they're not getting a bigger bonus, and that could be a sign that they could be subject to a layoff in a couple of weeks, because sometimes people don't get a bonus or a pay rise in January. They get kind of a response from their manager, and then before they know it, there's talks about restructuring, and by the time it's February or March, they get fired. So this is how difficult it can be, right? It's interesting, people walking to and from that meeting room, you might see people smiling or people being kind of, could be a reflection of what their bonus could be. And then you got to think about your bonus meeting. Typically you'd walk into that meeting one-on-one with your manager and maybe someone else in management, and they'll go through the kind of thanks for all your hard work throughout this year. And all you can really think about is your per annum total compensation. Again, what your pay will be, your salary, what your bonus will be. You're trying to get through all the pointless small talk. And then after you find that out, you can move forward and focus on what you want to do in your career. Do you want to stay? Do you think they're underpaying you, or do you think they're paying you a fair salary and you want to keep working there, right? And you don't want to act too impressed. You don't want to be like, oh, I'm so grateful for any money you offer me. Then they'll kind of a bit of a sucker, in the sense that you don't understand what the market rate is for your industry and you'll accept any pay. That's why it's best just to be emotionally neutral and stoic, like, oh, thanks. Don't weigh your emotions like a game of chess, like gambling in a casino. You don't want to give off in your impression on your face of what you were expecting versus what it is, right? It depends. In other scenarios and through my coaching, I let you know how to deal with negotiating a higher bonus, how to demonstrate the work you're doing is generating money for the company. There's all types of different nuances here. And it's good on that day, like I say, after the bonus meeting, you can observe other people's actions and think, are people ready to quit? Are they making big purchases? What are they doing? You can read in between the lines. Sometimes people are very open. They go through a bonus meeting, and then before you know it, they're talking about buying a new house or buying a new car, things like that. And the other point is a year plan, right? And that comes down to, where are you in your career and what you're going to do next? Because some people, they get their bonus and they're like, okay, cool, I'll stay at this company. I'm going to try and get a bigger bonus next year. Sometimes if the pay isn't good, you might want to be looking to leave. So you're going to think, okay, I'm going to spend the next year thinking about what I want my salary to be in the following year, right? So you might go like, okay, well, a 5% pay rise this year. My bonus is gone up 10%. Next year, I want my salary to go up 10%, and I want my bonus to go up 15%. It could be some sort of target. You want to keep your manager updated on a regular basis on the productive work you're doing to justify your bonus next time. You want to make sure that you don't get too attached to your bonus number, because like I say, it could not be based on your performance. It could be based on how much money the company is making. If you work hard one year and then the company's making a loss, you can't be upset that the bonus is low for you, right? It's the company's fault, not your fault, right? So don't link your sense of self-worth too closely to the bonus number. Do what's in your control. In some cases, you might want to focus on your escape plan. You might want to think, well, I've got a low bonus here. What shall I do? You might be disengaged at work. You might want to focus on job hopping, investing. You want to focus on your financial independence, retire early plan. This is what matters, right? It really matters how you can think for yourself, right? How bonuses are calculated, what your co-workers are doing, what your industry is doing, how does the bonus day work, and then finally, what your plan is for the next year. These are things that will help you get a bigger bonus, right? Many people aren't planning ahead. They just think, oh, if I work hard, I'll be grateful for whatever money I can make that year. But a lot of the times, I mean, that's really not good enough, because then you'll just be like every other employee is really pushing to make more money, and they're doing it quietly. They're doing it in one-to-one meetings with the manager. And then you're just there like, oh, I'll take whatever I can get. Yeah, that's fine. Then they're going to just walk all over you, and people are going to move rapidly ahead in their career compared to you. So if you're interested in really making those big bonuses, which I've covered in some of my recent videos, you want power, you want pay, you want freedom, you want to take control of your career. You don't want your manager dictating to you how much you can get paid. You don't want one difficult team ruin your career and waste years of your life. If you really want to take control, I can really help you push forward to make those big opportunities that you're looking for. And I've been helping many of my clients on a private one-to-one basis through coaching. Link in description if you're interested in that. I also have a course if you just want to spend some time watching videos to understand office politics, to really protect your career growth from very toxic, difficult, hyper-competitive work environments. And then lastly, I have a newsletter where twice a week on a Monday and Friday, you get emails from me that will help you with your career. And that's completely free, of course, so feel free to sign up to that. All the links are in the description. I look forward to helping you. Let me know what you think. How does the bonus process work at your company? Let me know in the description. And how did you finesse getting a bigger bonus, or are you struggling to get a higher bonus? Let me know in the comments. 2 recommended videos on your screen right now, and I'll see you next time.